organizations. We will learn that the Swedish are more individualistic than the Polish. So there are also some personalities also in this group. Some of you will be more individualistic, some of you will be more collectivistic within this nationality. So what for we need to learn about cultural differences? We need to talk to each other.
To know each other.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning we have the right to generalize, but when you exactly know some person, you probably stop generalize because you will know that person and you know that she or he is more individual, is more enthusiastic or live, something like that. But we have the right to generalize only at the beginning, in my opinion. When we don't know this person, it doesn't matter is it from Denmark or Sweden or Poland.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I
Yes?
think also there's a difference between, we all represent organizations, and that's something else perhaps than individual people. Like organizations might be bureaucratic, it doesn't mean that people are bureaucratic. So, different levels.
Okay.
Wydaje mi się, że też musimy bardziej doświadczać sami siebie w różnych takich obszarach. Bo często mówi się o nas, o pracownikach pomocy społecznej, że to są urzędnicy, tylko ciągle piją kawę. Jednak jak przyjdę, porozmawiam z pracownikiem albo w różnych sytuacjach z danym klientem wspólnie popracujemy, to okazuje się, że wcale nie jesteśmy tacy źli, tak? Albo przeciwstawiać takie oceną negatywną, że na przykład a nie pójdę do tej organizacji, bo wiem, że i tak mi nie pomogą.
We should fight the negative assessments like I'm not going to that organization or institution because they will not help me anyway. First go there and then find out.
Good point.
Yeah. Open mind and open questions.
That's the point. That's something I prepared in the next slide. So if we think with using stereotypes, every contradictory information is rejected, and every information that is not contradictory, there is I just saw a mistake. So which is not contradictory is amplified, and if we use generalization, all data are included and analyzed, and this kind of generalization should be a kind of hypothesis for us that should be tested, constantly tested and refined in the contact with the real person. So the cultural differences, the models of culture are the starting point, and we are prepared for the most difference between us. And when we contact with each other and it occurs, okay, but this person is not so individualistic I expected to be, then we can just change our behavior. So we should remember, the next slide shows us, the next slide, thank you. In Latin America, they have a nice saying, cada cabeza es un mundo, which means each head is a world of its own. So we have to remember that there are just behind the culture there are also the personalities, and we can expect differences within each country. And if we change the slide, can you please change to the next one? I will, and the next one. Okay, this one. Maybe somehow we will be able to get the presentation or at least these links, because there are quite good tools for intercultural training, and two of them you have to pay for 2 of them. So maybe you can someday convince your organizations that it's worth paying for that and training the members of this organization. This one, and the Culture Wizard and the Culture Compass are the paid ones, and but you just fill the questionnaire, and after that you get the result your cultural profile. Your cultural profile compared to your national culture, and your cultural profile compared to some other culture with which you, for example, would like to negotiate or do some project and so on. So, and you can get some advice how to deal with the differences and be more cultural competent when you finish that and when you read that all. So if you don't want to pay, there is a cultural questionnaire on this one on this website. So you can just check what is your culture profile without the advice. But I hope we will we will just work on some advice at the end of our meeting, so then you will be able to check your cultural profile. And if I just go back please 2 slides. Okay. I would like to encourage you to use the ethno-relativism in your thinking, because this is when you use ethnocentric approach, it's judging others through the lenses of your own culture. And if you apply the ethno-relativistic approach, it's you can judge others only by the lenses of their own culture. So this is a kind of a picture that shows the difference. What can be the difference in thinking?
Isn't it a stereotype concerning male?
Sorry?
Isn't it a stereotype concerning male?
Yeah, there is some stereotype. But in this picture, but I think it's one of the best pictures to show the difference between ethno-relativism and ethnocentrism. So it's not mine, but you can find this picture on the website. Okay, can we just and the last thing, it's about the tests, the surveys. Culture exists only by comparison, because we can, if we just read the cultural profile of the Swedish, of Danes, of the Polish, without any comparison, it won't tell us much. Because we can just find some extremes, but for example, for Poland, a lot of dimensions have just average values among other cultures. So if we, for example, Poland comparing to Sweden is a collectivistic culture. But if we compare to the Chinese, we are in a highly individualistic culture. So it only exists by comparison. And the comparison will be today. Okay, so first I'll start with the World Values Survey, because I thought this is a very good tool for intercultural comparison and finding some data about different attitudes in the society. If you enter the website, you can Google the title, and if you enter the website of the project, you can find the results of the surveys from different waves, and find some answers to the questions you might be interested in. And if you can't, for example, you won't find Denmark in the main website of the project, but if you enter the European Values Survey, then you will find a bit older data, but for all the countries. So I chose some questions for you. This might tell you something about social integration. The World Values Survey has 2 dimensions. Could you just please? Oh, yes. It has 2 dimensions because after combining all the questions from the questionnaire, from the survey, they worked a map, so-called Engelhardt map or Engelhardt-Felsen map, because these are the authors of the map. And there are 2 dimensions: the traditional and secular rational values, and survival and self-expression values. Could you go back? Could you pass the next slide? Please, thank you. So the traditional and secular rational values reflect the contrast between societies where religion is important and where religion is not important. It doesn't matter which religion it is, it's just about religious values. And when we go to the next slide, we will see some features of societies that are near the traditional pole. For example, there is the importance of parent-child ties, deference to authority, absolute standards, traditional family values, and these societies reject divorce, abortion, euthanasia, and suicide. There is high level of national pride and nationalistic outlook. On the other hand, we have the societies near the secular, rational values. So how do you think, just so you can guess for now, where would you place Sweden?
I do know. Up there.
Up there, okay, secular rational values. Denmark.
Close to Sweden.
Close to Sweden. And what about Poland?
The other.
It will be almost the opposite, I would say. But we have some countries, there are a lot of countries that are not European, but among European cultures, Poland would be one of the most traditional. And the next slide, please. The second dimension is about survival and self-expression values. So this reflects the transition from industrial society to post-industrial societies. Actually, this is a kind of Maslow pyramid for societies, where you have, when you don't have to care about basic things, you can think about self-expression, about protecting the environment, and so on. And in the next slide, we have some features of. Could you please go to the next one more? Okay, so societies near the pole of self-expression values give high priority to environmental protection, tolerance for diversity, for different groups, like immigrants, homosexuals, and people of different beliefs, thoughts, and so on. So tolerance for every group.